There it is, guys. The Motowhoop is here, and it's time for a full review of this quad. It's a little 3S indoor-outdoor whoop, so if you're looking for something as like your first quad, this would be pretty easy to run as your first quad. We're going to talk about the components on here. We're going to talk about the tune, which I am going to provide you guys with my own tune for this one because it came to me as a prototype and it honestly wasn't ready to go out of the box. It had some pretty high numbers in the PIDs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but right out of the box, this one was ready to go with an XM Plus already installed on here, so that's nice for my Taranis radio. They have some nice instructions on here, and this also gives you a schematic and the layout of your motor combo here, your receiver setup. You can run everything on here from Spectrum to Crossfire, which is nice. You have a 400 milliwatt VTX on this, 1103 motors, and those are kind of my micro brushless sweet spot like I've talked about before, 13 amp ESCs, and this is the F4 FD flight controller from HGLRC, which I've flown before. You get some extra stickers in the box, which is nice. XM Plus manual, these thin little straps, which I really like a lot. These are nice. You get 2 of those in the box, and you get an extra set of GemFan 2033 props. These are nice little smooth, ultra smooth 2-inch props. Really nice. But what's also cool about this quad is that it does have built-in LEDs on the bottom. It has plug-and-play motors, so if you bust a motor up, you don't have to resolder one on. You can just plug it back into this bottom plate PDB. So that's maybe one con about this quad, that there is a bottom plate PDB on here all the way around, and it goes out to the front and the sides and the back here where your XT30 comes off. And there's a buzzer in the very front right here. I'm not sure why they would put that in the very front, because it seems like that might be kind of an odd spot for a crash in case that busts off the PDB. We have a dipole coming off the back, and I'm happy that this one is able to boost up to 400 milliwatt, which is really nice. But I have to say that so far, now that we have a good tune on here, and I'm going to share that with you guys down below, I'm going to put the CLI link down over to Google Documents, and you guys can grab that. But let's go ahead now and let's go outside. Let's do a little bit of flying with this quad, and then we'll come back in and we'll give you my final opinion on the Motowhoop. Pretty cool release. Here we go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get the Motowhoop out to the field. It's a nice sunny day, so the camera looks really good. This is the Runcam Nano 2 on here, and right now this is my first flight, and I'm only running 25 milliwatts, so you're going to see a little bit of static back to my goggles there. This is the DVR recording in my SkyZone 030s, and it's looking pretty good right off the bat, but I definitely felt like it needed some tuning. It is a good proximity flyer or freestyle if you want. The 1103 motors on 3S 450. It's kind of like the perfect storm for micro brushless, and I talk about this all the time. I love the 1103 motors. Plenty of power, but also it doesn't sag the battery too much. Now right here I tried to do a little bit of stall and freestyle. I got some tumble there. So I knew this was definitely going to need a little bit of tuning. The F4 flight controller, the FD series from HGLRC, is actually pretty good, and I have flown it before. It's stable and solid. Plenty of close in proximity capability with this little quad. Instability mode, if you're a beginner, start out there, and you can fly it indoors or outdoors. Does a nice orbit, nice, precise, consistent lines with this quad, which is really cool. I feel like I can fly anywhere with this one, and it's fairly quiet. If you're worried about noise level, this one's really quiet. And that was a nice move, no washout there. Actually doing pretty good. And right here, just a little bit of vibes right there on a harder sort of roll there, a flip. But back into these straight lines, looking really good. And I just try to power loop here, but I got way more height out of the motors than I was prepared for. Actually, tons of boost there with these 1103s. And you can get around 3 minutes flight time with a 450. And right here, durability test, guys, straight into that pole. Now, this is after the PID tune, and I'm going to put that PID tune down below in the Google Docs link for the CLI dump if you guys want to grab that for your Motowhoop. I changed the numbers completely down from like 80s down to like maybe even around low 20s and 30s here for a lot of the PID adjustments. But Looking really smooth now with the new tune on there. And running 200 milliwatt now. You can crank it all the way up to 400. Doing pretty good there. It did still have a little bit of tumble there on a hard maneuver. And now back out to the field. This was interesting because they set a fire out here in this debris pile, and it was pretty fun to fly through. I don't know if you guys have ever flown through smoke before, but it was kind of a neat experience. Just definitely don't want to drop the quad down in that fire. But I feel like this one is definitely a good beginner to intermediate quad. The price is somewhere around what you could kind of expect for the components that are on here. And I know the stuff that comes from HGLRC is usually good. It's reliable and it's going to be a solid purchase. So I think put my PIDs on there, play around with those. If you don't like mine, save your original PID tune. All right guys, welcome back from the flight test. Now, mine was a prototype. So I had some issues with some tumble right out of the gate flying this one. And if a tiny whoop is not tuned properly, it will have all kinds of issues with tumble. If the numbers are too high, that means that everything is going to be too sensitive on the flight controller. And that's what happened with this one. The numbers were up in the 80s in the PID settings. So around 60 to 80 on the PID settings. So everything was extremely high. So it was really sensitive and having a lot of tumble. It was also a little bit windy the first day that I flew this. So pick and choose your days that you're gonna fly this quad. If you wanna fly it indoors, it'll fly absolutely perfect indoors. You also have a pretty good amount of tilt if you want to use my tune and work on some freestyle. This camera will tilt up to about 45 degrees, which is kind of nice. If you're a beginner, I always tell people to bring it down to about, say, 10 degrees to start out with, and fly fairly straight. You can start out in stability mode and then use this as an acro trainer later on when you don't want to use stabilization. So there's a lot of good things about this. I feel like it's fairly tough with the TPU top mount on here. You can take this one apart and get to the stack fairly easily. It does have screws through the very top. These are going to be Phillips head on the very top to release this top plate. Looks like 6 screws all together will bring this top canopy off, and then you can have access to the stack. But I have to say that this is probably the mid-range as far as price goes. It's around $150. You might be able to get it discounted. I'll try to put a link down below to HGLRC's website and to Banggood. Either place you want to pick this one up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. When you finally get the retail version, it's going to have a nice tune on there. So again, take it with a grain of salt. This was a prototype to me, and I had to work with it a little bit, but cool quad, and yeah, not bad. Thanks for sending me one, HGLRC. Guys, take care, and please do click subscribe and mash that little button for the bell notification so you get an email when there's a new video coming out. Be safe, guys. I'm Justin Davis. I'll see you on the next one.